Hello guys, I'll be quilting the legit line design as a whole cloth quilt. I have reduced the size. The original size is 60 by 80, but I have reduced it to 30 by 40. And I'm going to open the designs. There are three sections or rows. I'm going to select the first one and open it, and open the second and the third. So now I'm going to select the first one. I'm going to modify, reposition, and push the 0 button. Then I'm going to select the second row and push the 0, and select the third row and push the 0. Not all of them are in the position um, where where they are in the correct position to be quilted. I'm going to move the needle to the upper left corner of the quilt top. This is going to be the left corner of the quilt design too. And then I'm going to select all of three rows and go to um, modify, reposition, and then push the top lift option. This is going to line my quilt to the top left corner. I'm going to show you how I base the quilt. You can see there's some chalk lines on the quilt top. This is the middle line, and this is the horizontal line at the top. This is 30 inches. I measured it with the ruler and then marked the line with the chalk pencil. I want to make sure that this line is plumb. I'm setting the basting stitch to 1, and I'm going to push the horizontal lock. I'm not going to quilt it yet. I'm just following the laser pointer to the line to make sure this is exactly horizontal. It looks pretty horizontal, but I'm going to go all the way to the end to make sure. It's a tiny bit off here, so I'll slide the fabric up and I'll pin it here. Okay, now I need more pins, and let me get some more pins to pin it here too. This is a slightly bit off, not even 1/4 of an inch, about 1/8 of an inch, but I want it straight. And I want to pin it to help me stitch the basting line. The pins are out of the stitching path, so the needle won't hit the pins. After checking this line, I'll check the vertical line, which is in the center. Push the vertical lock, and again I'll follow this line with the laser light. I'll pull the fabric, move the fabric to make this line exactly straight. I'll um, pin at a few spots just to make sure this lies straight, and then I can baste this center line. And I'll use the 1-inch basting stitch. After basting the center line, push the horizontal log and go towards the right side of the quilt top. Thread is pulling at the corner here, but I'm going to cut the thread here to release the tension later. After quilting this horizontal line, I'm going to cut the thread and move the needle to the vertical line and push the vertical log and baste the right side of the quilt too. Um, to get the thread, I'll move the machine to the left upper corner of the quilt top, and I'll baste this vertical line with the same basting stitch, which is 1 inch. I like the 1 inch because it's easier to remove. I'll baste the horizontal line, the left side from the center outwards, but let me first clip the thread where it's causing the tension. From basting from the center towards the outside. After basting these straight lines, I'm just going to do a meander stitch in over the whole quilt top in this section, and the lines I want to keep them not more than 10 inches apart. I'm trying to uh, stitch closer. Let's see how much I succeed in it. After quilting the meander stitch, I'm going to advance the quilt top, lift the quilt top, smooth out any wrinkles from the netting. I'm going to repeat the process um, again to check uh, the straightness of the lines. That's a word. So I'll check the vertical lines first. We'll push the vertical log and follow the laser light. And if the line is not straight on the fabric, I'll move the quilt top to make it straight. I'll pin in a few spots, just making sure that they are remain outside of the stitching path. 1 inch basting stitch all the way down as much as I can go. Now I'll do the middle line. I'll check whether it's straight or not first, and then I'll stitch the basting stitch. So this is the left line. I'm checking to make sure it's straight. And then do the basting stitch. And here I'll fill up the center of the quilt with the meandering stitches. Meandering stitches are also with the 1 inch stitch length. Okay, there is about 2 inches at the bottom where I cannot reach with my machine, and I'm going to leave it unbasted, and I'll baste it when I'm done stitching the 2 rows of the legit line. Basting is done. I want to make sure that the design is aligned to the top left corner of the quilt top, and I'll change the stitches to 12 stitches per inch. Select all the 3 designs, go to modify, and then reposition and push the top left corner. So the stitching starts from the middle of the quilt top, and because the line stitches out first and then the background. Before starting to quilt, I want to make sure that this first row or section fits in the throat space of the machine. And I'll select the first section only, then I'll go to prostitcher and push the run button. I'll remove the basting stitches from the area which is going to be quilted. I've set my long jump stitch to 0 so that it stops after every long jump, and I can remove the basting stitches. There are a lot of long jumps in this legit line design, and you see this design is for a 60 by 80 quilt, and I am quilting it as a 30 by 40 size. It's quite tedious to for the machine to stop, and then I go back and clip the stitches, clip the threads, and then remove the basting stitches. But this way, the whole quilt top is stabilized, and even though the stitching is very heavy, it doesn't draw in the fabric too much. Every time there are only a few basting stitches that I have to remove. In the illustrations in the PDF that comes with the design, um, all the designs are numbered so you can see which one is going to quilt first and which one is going to quilt after that. So you can find out where to remove the basting stitches from. The line part is quilted, and I want to quilt the background now. I want to change the background color to red so that it blends in with the quilt top fabric. I just want the line to show, not the background. So even for the background, I haven't removed all the basting stitches. I'm removing the basting stitches as the quilt progresses. I'm almost done with the first row or section of the digit line, and when it um, stops quilting, I push I select the second section, which is the second row. It's not going to fit in this throat space, but I want to find out where the start point of the second row or section is. So I select the second section, go to prostitcher and run, and then push the pause button right away. So wherever the needle is down, this is the start point of the second row. I want to mark this point. I'll push the pin in it. I'll place a small piece of masking tape and then put the pin in there so that that mark is visible when I advance the quilt. So this is the second section, and I I wanted to show you where the start point of the second section is. You can see it here. I have marked it with the pin. So you push the needle down at this spot, move the pin, and then select all three sections of the design and push the drag button. Now I'll advance the quilt. The needle will move with the quilt top. Then I can push the drop button and I can uh, do the needle. So I'll zoom in to make sure that the design has advanced correctly. And it seems like it didn't advance correctly. So I'll pick a point in the design which has already been quilted and find it in the tablet where that is, and I'll zoom in that point. And I have the needle in the quilt top at that point. So I'm just nudge the design to make it go where the needle is. That's the point. This should match point in the screen. So I'll deselect everything now and select only the second section or row, and then I go to prostitcher and push the run button. And I have changed the thread back to yellow because the line part I want to do it in yellow. Remove the basting stitches as you advance. Some of them do get stuck in the quilting. You can pull them out slowly. They're quite big enough and they uh, won't be a problem. Won't be a problem removing them. I have an infinity, so my sections are about 19 inches tall. Well, two of the sections are. The third one is smaller. I wanted to fit as many designs as I can in one section. And you can see the video on how to um, make rows for a whole cloth quilt or how you can combine different designs. It took me quite a few hours to finish the two rows of this design because it's quite dense, and I stabilized the quilt, so I had to stop with every new jump and I had to remove all the stitches so that the quilting is not done on top of the basting stitches. I'm almost done with the line part of the second section, and after that I'll quilt the background. But um, for the background, I'll change the color from yellow to the red, and then quilt. Background is quilted heavily too. You won't see it. So now two parts are quilted. Now I'm at the third section. So I'll select the third section, go to Pro Stitcher and push the run button. And as soon as the needle goes down, I'll push the pause button. This is just to mark the start of the third row. Now I'll select all the sections of the quilt and push the drag button. My needle is down at that point, and I'll advance the quilt. When I'm done advancing, I'll push the drop button and after making sure that quilt has advanced correctly, I'll um, enough to finish quilting the third section. I'll clamp the quilt and then make sure that all the sections align as they are supposed to. So I'll pick a point on the quilt top and try to match it on the screen. As you can see, crosshair section which indicates the needle point is different than the one um, on the quilt top. This point I'm going to zoom and I'm going to modify and I'll reposition and then nudge. I'm trying to move this point as close to the crosshairs as possible. Zoom some more and then I'll nudge by point 001. That's a very small amount, but this helps in realigning the quilt design. So now that it has realigned, I'll refresh and I'll deselect everything and select just the third section. Pull up the needle, change the thread to yellow because the line is going to quilt first. But before that, I'm going to baste the bottom 2 inches of the quilt top. Now change the thread stitch length back to 1 inch, and I'll do the simple man ring stitch at the bottom of the quilt top. Now I'll change the stitch length back to 12. And I'll go to um, prostitcher and I will push the run button. So quilt the remaining part of the lion. It's not much left in this section. I'll remove the basting stitches as I'm ready to quilt that part. And at the end, I'll be doing the background stitching. I'll change the thread to red. And I'll remove the basting stitches as I get to that area. I wanted to show you the finished quilt top. This is my first whole cloth quilt and 7th or 8th quilt overall. I don't call myself a quilter, so there are lots of mistakes in tension, but otherwise I like the quilting overall. If you can see, focus this circle, I think this is less than a 1/4 inch. And if you see, this quilted out pretty nicely, although the design was reduced 50%. And I also noticed that the second section kind of a little bit overlapped the first section. It's not very visible, but I see the mistake here. Overall, I liked it. I wish I had used the double batting so that these areas would have popped. There are some tension issues which I I'm hoping that I learn with time, but otherwise, um, being it's um, I'm being very new at quilting, I am I am happy with it. I really like these circles. This is the background. I didn't want the background to show too much. I hope you can try it too.